When it comes to marketing your photography business, there's going to be two different sides that we have: what you say and what you show. What you say, like your copy, your messaging, all of that, is super important when it comes to connecting with your clients, but you also want to make sure that you're showing things off to go along with what you're saying. Now, on the flip side, showing your work off is great, but if you're only showing work and you're not saying anything, you're not actually going to be able to connect with clients the way you want to connect. But today, we're not going to talk about copy. We're going to talk about your photos and how you can actually use your portfolio to show off your images and market your business in the best way possible. Hey, I'm Jessie from Inkpot Creative, and we are a brand and web design studio that helps photographers just like you stand out with a unique brand presence and attract the clients that you actually want to work with. And in today's video, we're going to break down the different ways that you can show off your images, highlight your portfolio, and make sure that you are having all of the things that clients are going to be looking for. So let's dive into the two main places you're going to use to show off your portfolio work. The first place you're going to actually show your portfolio is on your portfolio page. And this is the one that you're probably thinking about when you're thinking about showing off your images, having this content on your website, right? And when it comes to your portfolio, there's actually a ton of different ways that you can break it down. And you've probably noticed as you've looked at other photographers' sites that there are a few different ways that people tend to separate it. Now, there really isn't a right or wrong way to actually break down your portfolio, but I'm going to share with you 3 different ways that our clients tend to use a lot when it comes to the different categories that the portfolio is split up into. The first one is going to be separating your portfolio by your services. So if you only do wedding photography, this isn't going to be one that you maybe need to do. But if you have multiple different types of photography that you do in your business, this can be a great way to have a portfolio piece, portfolio category for each of the different services that you offer. So for example, you might have a category for wedding photography, for engagement photography, for, couples photography, for family photography, for brand photography, for event photography. Any different type of photography service that you have in your business, you can have a portfolio category going off of it. Now with this, once someone actually clicks on it, when they click on wedding photography, it's going to show a single gallery of your favorite wedding images. So it's not going to necessarily be one specific couple in that wedding gallery, but it might be maybe your top 8 weddings that you've shot that you're like, I really love the photos from these weddings. There's going to be an array of images from all 8 of those weddings in there. There's going to be an array of images from all 8 of those couples, all 8 of those brands that you've worked with, whatever it might be. So that's how we're going to split it up by the service. We have the different service types, and then each gallery for that service is just going to include all of the photos that you loved, regardless of how many different clients it's actually showing off. The next option is to actually split it up by client or couple. Now, this is one that's a little more common, especially if you want to be able to highlight different types of weddings that you've done and show off more photos for each of those weddings. So in this sense, maybe you have, 5 or 6 couples that you want to feature, and we can have Jane and Jill's wedding. That's one of the categories. When someone clicks on it, it opens up and it shows only photos from their weddings, right? And then the next category might be Matt and Mark, and you click on it and it's only photos from their wedding. So in this one, you can highlight whatever couples you want. You can maybe use it to show off the different styles of weddings. Maybe you have a few that are super bold and colorful, and a few that are a little more minimalistic, a few that, are super unique or did a really cool thing in it. So you can kind of show the range of your work, but each individual gallery is only going to show photos for that couple. The final option that we commonly see is splitting it up by the actual type of photo. Now, there's a couple different ways that you can take this. One way you can go is you can actually split it up by the events of the day. So if we're thinking about a wedding day, maybe we have a category for getting ready. We have a category for couples portraits. We have a category for family photos. We have a category for ceremony, for reception. And we can actually break down each part of the day. And then when they click on it, these individual galleries are going to function very similarly to that first category that we had where we're talking about the services, right? So when we click on it, it's going to open a gallery, and that gallery is going to feature a bunch of different couples. So we're not necessarily focusing in on one couple, we're focusing in on the time of the day. Or we can also split it up by the different styles of photos. So maybe we have candid photos, we have posed photos, we have family photos. We can kind of split it up between that so people can see the different types of photos that you tend to capture throughout the day. We can even split it up by the emotion. So we can have, fun and energetic photos. We can have super emotional photos, whatever it is that you feel is the best way to show off your work and how maybe your process kind of flows, what you look for, what helps you stand out in the business, anything like that, you can split it up. And then again, when you open the gallery, it's going to show a bunch of photos from a bunch of different couples. Now, the key with any portfolio is you want to make sure that you are not overwhelming people. And there's two different spots where we tend to see this overwhelm come into play. The first one is how many options people have to actually choose from. So your portfolio does not have to include every single wedding that you've done. It doesn't even have to include every single wedding you've done this year. It should be a very curated view of some of your favorite work and the work for the people that you want to consistently book. So if you're putting a wedding out there where you were like, yeah, the wedding was great, but this is maybe not necessarily the type of couple that I want to consistently attract, you're putting something out there that you don't want, right? So we want to make sure anything that we're putting out on our website, anything that we're putting out on our social media with any of our marketing materials is trying to attract the exact type of client that we want to work with. So when it comes to these different categories, however you split it up, whatever you choose to do, our suggestion would be to stay between maybe 3 to 6 different categories. So let's say we're splitting it up by different client or couple. We have 3 to 6 different couples that we feature on our portfolio, and that is it. Now, the other place that this overwhelm can come into play is when we click on those individual galleries and how many photos are actually in the gallery. And this is one that we see all of the time. When someone is looking at these galleries, they absolutely do not need to see every single photo that you took at that wedding. I know with the photographers that we work with, some of them will deliver, 500, 600, 700, maybe even 1,000 photos from that wedding day. No one needs to see that many photos. What we want to do, again, is present a very curated view of the photos that we like. We can show the different parts of the day. So again, if we're highlighting this couple, we can have a few from getting ready. We can have a few of the portraits from the first look, from the family photos, from the, group photos with the wedding party, the ceremony, the reception, the cocktail hour, whatever it might be, the exit. We can show a few photos from each of them so that they get a view of the entire day, but we're not showing every single moment. So our suggestion here is to keep each gallery between 30 and 50 photos. That's the sweet spot. You can show a lot in 50 photos, but you're not going to overwhelm to the point where people are just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And you really want to remember that a lot of people might be viewing your website on their phone. So think about how long scrolling through 50 photos is on your phone. We want to make sure that it's super easy to digest. So that 30 to 50 number is the perfect kind of sweet spot to stick between. And you also have to remember that your portfolio is not the only place that people are ever going to see your images, right? You have tons of other images on your website. You have tons of other images on your social media. You have tons of other images on your blog, which I'll talk about in a second. And if people want to see more, they can always reach out and you can send them a link to full galleries, right? If they want to see that, they can ask you and you can send it to them. It doesn't have to be on your website to the point where it feels overwhelming to the people who maybe don't want to have to navigate through all of that. Now, the second place that you can actually use to show off your portfolio work is on your blog. And while your portfolio can get overwhelming if we start to have, 10, 15, 20 different categories on it, your blog is a perfect place to post about literally every single wedding that you do, right? We can have a blog post on every single wedding and we can showcase photos for that wedding on our blog. So when I say you have 3 to 6 categories in your portfolio, that's not saying that you can't show off all of the weddings that you shoot. You can, just do it on your blog. And with this, not only are you able to continue to market your photos on your website and have all of that content there, but you can also use SEO to write blog posts that are then going to hopefully attract people directly from Google. So we have both sides of it. We're pulling in people from Google and we have our photos that we can use to kind of highlight our work and market our work right there. Now, there's 2 things that I want to mention when it comes to your blog. First, just like we don't want to overwhelm people in our portfolio with the number of images on the gallery, the same thing applies when it comes to our blog posts. So we want to try to stick to that 30 to 50 number of how many photos are actually in the blog post. Now, the difference with the blog is we would suggest having it split up so that they're not reading all the blog post and then seeing a single gallery with 30 to 50 images at the bottom, right? Every single heading that we have, or every different kind of break in the content, we want to put a small gallery there. So gallery anywhere from, maybe 3 to 6, 8 or 9 photos in a gallery under each heading is a great way to show it off. And if we're doing a blog post and we're talking through the wedding, we're talking about the venue, we're highlighting the different spots of the space, right? We can put photos there to show what we're talking about. We can put photos of the ceremony space when we're talking about the ceremony space, or of the reception space when we're talking about the reception space. So we want to kind of do that same show and tell, talk about it with our words in the blog, but then also directly after show the space with our photos. So as we do this, we have a smaller gallery with a handful of photos, more content, small gallery with a handful of photos, more content. We break it up that way so it keeps it visually interesting. We're not having such a big break in the middle of the article where we have, maybe 25, 30 photos. If we're doing 50 photos, if we just halfway through throw 25 photos in there, people might think that that's the end of the post and there's no more actual content, and they might miss the stuff that's at the bottom. So we don't want to add too many photos into the gallery that people are scrolling and they're like, is there more words here? But we want to make sure that we're kind of balancing it out so they don't just see a wall of text and then a wall of photos. Now, the other important part when we're thinking about the blog is we want to make sure that this doesn't actually feel hidden, right? We want to use this as a place to continue to market our business and show off our photos. So we want to make sure that people actually know to go there to see more photos. So a great way of doing this is, one, making sure that your blog is in your navigation. So your nav bar at the top, your footer down at the bottom, encourage people to actually click there, let them know that it's there. But we can also add little callouts or sections to our blog on a bunch of the different pages on our website. So maybe on your homepage towards, maybe the bottom, we have a section there that either shows maybe your 3 most recent posts or encourages people to go check out more of your work on your blog. You can put this on your different services pages. And, if we have a weddings page, we can specifically put a block there calling out our 3 most recent wedding posts and leading people to our blog to go check that out. And maybe if you have a families page, we can pull our 3 most recent families posts and encourage people to go there and check out more of those posts and that content. So we want to make sure that we're highlighting our blog across the website. We're encouraging people to go there and letting them know that they can see more photos, they can see more content, they can find more information on our blog. However you do it, you just want to make sure that your blog doesn't end up as a hidden page on your website that people don't actually know exists. So there you have it. When it comes to your photos and actually marketing your photos, those are 2 of the best places to do it on your website. We have your portfolio, breaking it down by different categories, making sure that it's digestible, making sure that we're not overwhelming people with the amount of options that they have or the amount of photos that they're looking at. And then we have our blog where we can showcase all of our weddings, but still keeping in mind that we want to make sure we have a curated number of photos on those posts to highlight our best work. I hope this helps as you're working through how to actually showcase your work. And if you do want a little help putting this all together and creating a brand and website that truly feels like you and connects with the people that you want it to connect with, you can click the link in the description below to learn more about our Rebrand Edit, which is our full brand and web design service, where you will get a brand new brand with everything you need, plus a 7-page website in just 5 weeks. So be sure to check that out. Feel free to drop a comment or DM us at Impact Creative on Instagram if you have any questions. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll catch you in the next one.